Okay, so if you wanted to capture the wild heart of Scotland on just one island, well, this would be it. The incredible Isle of Skye. We're going to dive into what makes this place so legendary.
Yeah, that's a pretty bold claim, right? But it's one you hear all the time. For so many people, the Isle of Skye is the crown jewel of Scotland's islands. And honestly, it's not just beautiful. It's dramatic, it's unforgettable. The scenery is so otherworldly, it just doesn't feel real sometimes.
In Gaelic, its name is just perfect. Eilean Donan, which means the Isle of Mist. And that name, it absolutely nails the mystical vibe here. You've got this mist that just rolls in and shrouds the peaks and landscapes, giving it this hint of magic and mystery.
So, what's really hiding under those clouds? I'll tell you, it's way more than just mist and mountains. It's a story written in ancient volcanic rock, a story you can hear whispered in the folklore, and one that was forged in the fires of clan battles. So let's get into it. Let's uncover the story of this amazing place.
Okay, so first up we have to start with the landscapes. Because on Skye, the scenery isn't just a backdrop, it's a character all on its own, ancient, epic, and shaped by some of the most powerful forces on Earth.
Right. At the heart of the island, you've got the Cullen Mountains, but they're like two totally different personalities. First, you have the Black Cullen. These are these menacing, jagged peaks made of dark volcanic rock, basalt and gabbro. They are seriously tough, which is why they've weathered into these sharp spires that are a massive challenge for any climber. Then you've got the Red Cullen, totally different. They're made of granite, so they've weathered into these rounded, almost gentle-looking hills, and they get their name from that reddish scree that just pours down their slopes.
Okay, now if we head north, the geology gets even weirder. You get to the Trotnish Peninsula, which was basically created by this huge, ancient landslip. We're talking the biggest one in all of Great Britain. And what it left behind is this just surreal landscape of bizarre, beautiful rock formations that, honestly, you won't see anywhere else on the planet.
And the most famous of all these formations, that has to be the Old Man of Storr. It's this massive, single pinnacle of rock that just juts out of the hillside. It's got such a presence. I mean, it's so unique that the local folklore came up with the perfect explanation. It's the thumb of a giant who's buried right there in the ground. And then, just a little ways away, you've got the Queering. Hiking here? Wow, it's a totally surreal experience. You're literally weaving your way through this wild landscape of hidden plateaus, massive cliffs, and these spooky rock spires with names like the Needle. The whole scene is so fantastical, it seriously feels like you've walked straight into a movie like The Lord of the Rings.
All right, follow that same coastline, and you'll see where the land just dramatically drops into the sea. This is Kilt Rock. We're talking 70-meter-high cliffs, which is impressive enough, but the reason it's so famous is that the cliff face is made of these vertical columns of basalt that look exactly like the pleats on a Scottish kilt. It's an incredible sight against the crashing waves.
So how does a rock end up looking like a kilt? Well, the science is actually pretty cool. It all comes down to this volcanic rock, basalt. Way back when, as all this lava was cooling down, it started to shrink and crack, and it just happened to fracture into these amazing, almost perfectly geometric columns. It's like nature's own sculpture.
But look, Skye is way more than just pretty pictures. It's a place with a really deep and often pretty rough human history. We're talking Vikings, powerful clans, and rebellions that changed everything. The island's history is a real saga. It kicks off with centuries of Viking rule. You can still see their influence in a lot of the place names today. Then you get to 1266, a huge turning point when the Treaty of Perth officially made Skye part of Scotland, and that's when the great clans really rose to power. Fast forward a few hundred years and you have the Jacobite rebellions and the tragic Highland clearances that followed, events that completely changed the island's culture and its people forever.
So for centuries, life on Skye was all about two powerful clans that were constantly at each other's throats. The MacDonalds and the MacLeods. The MacDonalds controlled huge chunks of the island, with castles in the north and south. But their rivals, the MacLeods, were based at the incredible Dunvegan Castle. And get this, that castle has been the home of the MacLeod chiefs for over 800 years. That makes it the oldest continuously lived-in castle in all of Scotland. Just think about that.
And speaking of history, after that final Jacobite rebellion failed back in 1746, Skye produced one of Scotland's greatest heroines. Her name was Flora MacDonald, and she risked absolutely everything to help the fugitive prince, Bonnie Prince Charlie, escape the king's soldiers. The story goes she disguised him as her maid and sailed him over the sea to Skye, a phrase that's now famous, of course.
Decades later, the famous writer Samuel Johnson actually met Flora on Skye. He was so blown away by her story of courage and loyalty that he wrote these words about her, saying her name would be mentioned with honor. And today, those very words are carved on her gravestone right there on the island. A perfect tribute.
Okay, so if all these stories of epic landscapes and legendary heroes have you thinking, I need to go there, you're probably wondering, how do I actually do it? So let's shift gears and talk about the practical stuff. How to plan your own Skye adventure. Getting to Skye is an adventure in itself, and you've got options. The easiest way is just to drive right over the Skye Bridge from the mainland. It's been toll-free for years. If you want something a bit more scenic, you can take the ferry from Malig. But if you want a truly unique, old-school experience, you have to find the Glen Elg Ferry. It's the last manually operated turntable ferry of its kind in the world. It's like a trip back in time. Now listen up, because this is probably the most important tip I can give you. Don't try to do Skye in a day. It's a big island, a lot of the roads are tiny single-track lanes, and there's just so much to see. A day trip, you'll barely scratch the surface. To really get a feel for the place and not be totally rushed, you need a minimum, and I mean an absolute minimum, of 3 days.
So where should you stay? For most people, the capital, Portree, is the perfect base camp. You've probably seen pictures of its famous colorful harbor. It's beautiful, but it's also practical. It's the main hub on the island, so you'll find all the hotels, restaurants, and shops you'll need.
Okay, let's talk about the weather, because this is crucial. The saying in Scotland is, there's no such thing as bad weather, only the wrong clothes. And that is 100% true for Skye. Its weather is, let's say, unpredictable. That means waterproofs, jacket, and pants are not optional, they are essential. Same goes for layers, like a fleece, and good, sturdy hiking boots. And I'm not kidding, you might want to pack a hat and gloves even if you're going in the middle of summer.
All right, to wrap things up, let's just quickly run through a few more of those must-see spots. The kind of places that really define the magic of Skye and stick with you long after you've gone home.
If you're looking for that fairy tale vibe, you have to check out the Fairy Glen. It's this bizarre miniature landscape of little cone-shaped hills. It feels like another world. And then there are the fairy pools. If you're feeling brave, you can take a dip in these incredible, crystal-clear blue pools, fed by waterfalls coming right off the Quillan Mountains. It'll be chilly for sure, but absolutely exhilarating. You can step back in time at Dunvegan Castle, that 800-year-old home of the MacLeods. Or if you want a moment of just pure epic nature, drive all the way out to Neast Point. Standing by that lighthouse on the edge of the cliffs as the sun sets over the ocean, yeah, that's a moment you won't forget. So when you put it all together, a landscape carved by volcanoes and glaciers, a history packed with drama, and this raw, enchanting beauty, you realize Skye isn't just a place you visit. It's an experience. It's a place that really reminds you of the power of nature and the strength of the human story. The only question left really is, which part of its magic are you going to discover first?